Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the Fan Cave. It's a Sunday night, and we're ready to take your calls at 412-575-2600. That puts you in touch with us right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani with you until 11 o'clock, and I'm riding solo, so I'd love to hear from you. We'll also read some tweets as we go, and we welcome all of our viewers here on KDKA+ and those listening on 93.7 The Fan. Well, we know now who's in this tournament field. We know now who's not in this tournament field. West Virginia, I thought, got a snub. I think they really did deserve to get in. I know they had a terrible loss against Pitt. That hurt early in the season, but the one against Colorado in the Big 12 tournament obviously hurt them as well. But when they had 6 quad one wins, when you add up North Carolina and Texas combined, not even close, 2 of those versus 6 for West Virginia, and yet West Virginia gets left out. Robert Morris is in, as you heard Cassidy Wood. You'll hear that story again tonight at 11 o'clock on KDK if you missed it. They're happy to be there, even though they got Alabama. Now, that's a 2-15 matchup, but I really thought they might be a 14 seed, not a 15 seed. Whatever the case, they're going to be underdogs no matter who they play. And at the moment, they are a 22-point underdog in that game. St. Francis gets Alabama State in a play-in game, and they are 3.5-point underdogs in that game. But just great to get that experience, and you never know. Robert Morris is playing really good team basketball right now. And we've seen upsets before, 2-15. We see a 1-16. That's happened before, too. But most likely, if you're looking at your brackets, probably some of those 5-12 matchups, 6-11 matchups, those things, they result in more upsets than what we normally see in others. 8-9 games are always intriguing. There are a lot of good ones there. And watch out for UConn as an 8 seed. They're the 2-time back-to-back defending champions, and they find themselves as an 8 seed. So that could be dangerous as well. We have a lot to get into tonight. We'll also update the situation that is the Steelers and their search for a quarterback beyond Mason Rudolph. Now, they signed him this week, as you know. I think that's a nice signing, 2 years, $8.5 million, and we've seen what he can do, and if he has to start, then so be it, he has to start. If that happens, they'll probably look to somebody like a Joe Flacco, I would imagine, or whatever else is out there. Cooper Rush today signed with Baltimore as to be their backup to Lamar Jackson at 2 years, $12.2 million. So the bottom line is the Steelers are still looking for that, and there's a fly running around. If you're wondering what I'm doing, it's just coming in and out. And at this point, Aaron Rodgers is still doing what he's doing, which is waiting, deciding. Who knows how long it takes. And I tweeted something earlier, looking at the situation with Brett Favre back in 2009, I believe the year was. He, followed the script that went from Green Bay after many, many years, I think 16, 2 years with the Jets, and then he went to Minnesota. But he did not sign until August 18th, well into training camp and the preseason. And he ended up being their starter that year. If Aaron Rodgers is looking to do the same thing, then, man, I'm sorry, I'd move on. I think that's a long time to wait on someone. I don't know if there are deadlines involved. I know the offers reportedly have been made. Where that stands at this point remains the same, which is nobody knows, and it's all in Aaron Rodgers' hands. So what do you think about that? What would you do in that department? The Steelers also have brought in some guys in free agency. There are still more that they can do. They need depth on a lot of different positions. Defensive line seems to be the choice that they should be making at first round unless there's a quarterback and they feel compelled to, take one of those guys if one is available at 21, because I don't see them trading up this year to do that. They may do it next year, who knows. But there are a lot of positions still that need enhanced, and we'll see what they do in the coming weeks and into the NFL draft. All right, when we come back, we'll take your calls, 412-575-2600. That's the number to call. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're live on KDKA+ and 93.7 The Fan. All right, welcome back. This is our Xfinity Mole tweet of the night. It comes from Brad Everett. Does a great job covering local Western Pennsylvania high school basketball. And these are the guys who are playing in the NCAA tournament here. Kelly, Moncrief, Morton, really good player out of Butler, O'Grady, Parham, and, of course, Adu Thero, who Quaker Valley now with Arkansas after he transferred and joined John Calipari. And John Calipari gets their first year in Arkansas. I believe they're a 10 seed. They'll take on Kansas. That'll be an interesting matchup for sure. All right, let's get to the phone lines at 412-575-2600, beginning with Scott in Lebanon County. What's up, Scott? How are you?
Hi, I'm doing good, Bobby. Thanks for taking my call. And first off, I want to extend my condolences to those in western, northeastern, and central PA that were affected by the horrific weather that happened earlier today. Second, a friend of mine mentioned to me the other day that not just Bob Nutting, but the owners of all three Pittsburgh sports teams, including the Steelers, seem to have a terrible reputation based on the shape they've been in performance-wise. And I would like to know if you think Pittsburgh has gone from a city of champions to a laughing stock.
No, I think that's an extreme take, to be honest. I look at over the years, the success the Steelers have had, the Penguins have had. You know, sports is a cyclical thing. And the Pirates, you know, they had that one little stretch, but they haven't reinvested in their product. Say what you want about the Steelers, they will spend money on their product. They just give $150 million to a wide receiver, and that's $30 million a year. That's after making T.J. Watt the height at his position, Minkah Fitzpatrick the height at his position, Cam Hayward. Now, yes, the quarterback situation is perplexing to watch, but no, I would not consider that. And the Penguins have been good as well. I mean, not recently, but you know, there's a mortgage payment due when you try to go out and win, and you give up picks to win, and that's what Jim Rutherford did. So this was inevitable, I think, and really all sports, but specifically here in Pittsburgh, it's going to happen. Now the Steelers, have lost in the playoffs and very, very decisively, and that's something that has to change. Of course, you can't keep going in there and getting outscored 73-0 in the first quarter of games. And the Penguins haven't been in a playoff situation in several years as well. But yeah, they're both committed to winning. I want to see more from the Pirates before I will include them in that statement. 412-575-2600. Let's go out to Ray in Whitehall. Ray, how are you? Hello, Ray. All right, is Ray there?
You can make it. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
I'm still here. Yeah. As much as I wanted to see West Virginia make it, I have to admit, when I seen them lose the other day to Colorado, who had a record of 3-17, I knew that was going to come back to hurt them because the committee always looks at games, really bad losses that you have. And I wanted to see what your take was on that.
Yeah, I'm sure it didn't help, obviously, even though I thought going into that tournament they had done enough to put themselves in the tournament. I cited those wins. When you beat the third-ranked team in the country, the second-ranked team in the country, and 3 other top 25 teams, I think you've done your share of work. They look at quad 1 wins in high regard, and they have many of them, and they didn't look at it. They also lost to Pitt in a blowout fashion. That probably hurt them a little bit as well. But, yeah, I mean, you want to avoid those kinds of losses at that time of year because if you are on the bubble, it could certainly knock you off the bubble. Let's go out to Josiah in San Antonio, Texas, who's one of our favorite callers. What's up, Josiah?
Hey, how are you doing? Just not to sound cocky or arrogant, I just think this whole thing with Aaron Rodgers, it goes back to the Steelers. The Vikings, it doesn't make sense. McCarthy, they got him. The Giants are terrible, and I just think it has something to do with probably money. I just don't see why it's taking them so long. And I'm going to just say this real quick. If they miss out on Rodgers because of retirement or whatever, I just don't think Mason Rudolph is the answer. Like, they have to get a starting quarterback to put an A on this offseason because they did magnificent so far.
Yeah, let me ask you something before you go. You say the Vikings aren't an option. What if J.J. McCarthy struggles this year? If you're Kevin O'Connor, to me, I would look at that and say, okay, do I want this guy potentially as somebody who could come in on a team laden with talent on offense, a really good defense? They've added to both their offensive and defensive lines. What if McCarthy struggles throughout the course of the year? You've never really seen him play in the NFL, right?
Right, and I think he may have growing pains. I just don't think that McConnell, the coach, I don't think he has the patience then to go back and forth for Rodgers, and I just don't think that would be a good fit. But let me just ask this real quick before you go. Do you think that there's any way or there's any fans out there that want Russell Wilson back either? Because I'm not hearing that either.
No, and if they did, they would have had it done by now. He's still out there visiting. Thanks for the call. He visited Cleveland, he visited New York, and he waits. Like I said, if they wanted to make an offer to one of their two, they chose Justin Fields. And I wish they would have signed him because this would have eliminated all of this and they could have moved on with business. And I still think there's upside for Justin Fields. I'll keep saying that because I think it's possible. Even if there isn't, then you could redraft your position next year. And they may do it this year with a mid-round pick just to fill out the roster at quarterback. Who knows? Because if it's just Rudolph and Rodgers goes another way, then they're going to need another quarterback. And you may as well mid-rounds pick somebody, I suppose. That doesn't mean you won't draft another one next year. You got to be in the right position to do that. So there are a lot of moving parts here, but we'll see how this goes, and I don't know what the timeline is. And hopefully it's sooner rather than later, because quite frankly, it's getting very monotonous talking about this same topic day after day after day. But John in Castle Shannon is about to do that. Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, Bob, how are you, sir? Your suit is really on point tonight, my man.
Heinz Healy's, downtown Pittsburgh. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Hey, Bob, if we do acquire Rogers, what do you think? Did Silvers actually go with him, or keep forget not in love anymore?
First of all, if it happens, if he's here, I hope they know that they got to protect him. And a lot of this will fall on their young offensive line, largely inexperienced. You got Broderick Jones switching from right to left tackle. He has to be better. He just has to be. That's why they got him here. You don't spend back-to-back years and getting number one picks at the tight end or at the tackle position and don't expect results. Now, Troy Fautanu is coming in. He hasn't played because he got injured. I think there's a high upside for him. If both those guys are good, it makes life a lot easier for any quarterback, especially one who can't move. So I think it's important that if he ends up coming here and playing here, then he has to get the protection he needs. The other thing, in my logic of bringing in Fields and signing him, and I wish they had done that, knowing, now that we have Metcalf here, you also have George Pickens here. If Pickens still is here, and at this point I would think he might be, even though I thought he would be traded, we'll see how that goes. But you got two guys who go down the field, and when they do, they take people with them. They take safeties and corners. It clears out a lot of the field so that if you have a mobile quarterback, well, he can break off some big runs. And I still believe that there's upside in his passing game. But again, that's old history now because he's moved on to the Jets, and we'll see what happens here. Let's go to Donnie in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Hey, Donnie, how are you?
I'm doing good, Bob. Hey, quick question for you, or questions, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to take a quarterback in this draft, who would you select? And if you had to wait till next following draft, who do you think you have your eye on you would feel comfortable the Steelers would succeed with?
Well, next year is incomplete for me because I have to see more of what these guys, like for example, Arch Manning, a lot of people have him looked at that way. I haven't seen enough. I need to see a lot more, and I think that's true of all these guys. For example, Jackson Dart, what he did this year, he moved himself in a position to be that guy that I don't think a lot of people thought would even approach the first round, but here he is knocking on that door. If I had to pick one this year, and again, in the first round, if it's somehow available, I certainly would consider it. It would have to be based on the research they have. Most likely, Shedeur Sanders will be gone. Cam Ward will be gone. If Jackson Dart is available, there are a lot of people, including Joe Starkey, who I work with on radio up there at 93.7 The Van. He's been on him for a while. If they take him, hopefully he's the guy, because sooner or later, you got to get a quarterback right. And you can't keep playing these games left and right year after year, restacking your quarterback room. It takes too much time and effort and money. And you spin your wheels a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Let's go out to Dan in New Kensington. Hello, Dan, what's up?
Hi, Bob. How you doing?
Okay, thank you.
Hey, I was reading on my cell phone back in January, and they always show Steelers stuff on there.
Okay.
They talk about Steelers stuff, and they said that Mason Rudolph will return to the Steelers this year. And they said that the Steelers locker room was in total chaos till Tomlin put Rudolph as a starter, and they wanted him last year, and they said that's what all the trouble was about in the locker room over quarterback.
Well, I don't believe any of that, so your phone must have given you some bad information there. Bottom line is Mason Rudolph was not going to be a thought here at any point until it became necessary to get somebody here, and they have experience with him. So that wasn't something that was a year ago even in conversation, I don't believe. We have some tweets here, and thank you for finding me at KD Pomp. We have this one here from Matthew Smith. He says, who do you have as your final four teams, and how did North Carolina get in this tournament? It's a good question about North Carolina. I don't think they belong, but they're going to have to play a play-in game. But as far as the four teams, I haven't filled out my bracket yet, but I do lean toward Duke to win it all. I think Florida is another team that could win it all. If you're looking at teams beyond that, second seed St. John's. They have had an unbelievable tournament, and I would never doubt Rick Pitino in these games. And Steve Banko, our producer, agrees with that. He likes St. John's a lot. But, man, Pitino knows how to do it, and he has a team that's playing at a high level right now. I also think Iowa State, despite not playing well at times this year, they're still a team that could do some damage. Now, from the ACC, if I'm looking at a team that has the potential to do well, it would be Clemson. They're a 5th seed, I believe, number 5 seed. Can they win? Sure they can win. They're a physical team. They have some good senior talent on that team, which I think can help them. So we'll see how that goes. But thank you for that. We'll try to get more of these tweets in and more calls as we come back. It's 412-575-2600. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. All right, welcome back. We continue right here with tonight's Sports Call. I want to remind you about the Ireland Contracting, the number one Cochrane Sports Showdown. That comes up tonight, 11:35 on KDKA. Andrew Filipponi, Brian Batko, and Chris Adamski. And it gets a little interesting in this discussion tonight as we get into the Steelers situation. And it goes beyond quarterback. I mean, that's going to be all of the attention moving forward until this is finally solved. But there are a lot of other things in play here, too. You know, the future of George Pickens. They have two running backs now who are kind of mirror images of one another. Kenneth Gainwell is a very good acquisition, especially at $1.7 million. But he does a lot of what Jaylen Warren does. Do they need to draft another running back? And does it have to be someone who can not only be physical, but also has the explosive speed? We'll find out what they do in that draft coming up. And then you look at cornerback, a position of need, defensive line, a position of need. There are a lot of still things that have to happen for this team, and other teams find themselves in the same boat. There's just a lot going on in football these days. Let's go to James and Aliquippa real quick before we say goodnight. What's up, James? How are you?
I'm good, thank you. The quarterback situation, you know that, all the drama that goes along with Aaron Rodgers, and that, Geno Smith from Seattle has become a free agent. What do you think about that?
Well, he's with another team already. They moved on from him. So now they have Sam Darnold as their quarterback in Seattle. So Geno Smith is with Pete Carroll. They are back together, and this time with the Raiders. So we'll find out. I just hope this Rodgers thing gets done one way or the other this week so we can stop talking about it and just try to frame, of what they're going to do at quarterback and beyond. But that's going to do it for us. Thanks for calling. Fresh out of time. We'll see you tomorrow night back here at 10:35. And join us tonight on the Showdown, 11:35. Good night.